This is going to be your guide on how to use Loki within Marvel Rivals. He's actually a pretty solid choice when it comes to the healers. Not one of the meta choices, but you can definitely do pretty well with him. Starting off with his projectile ability, which is basically a shot that he fires, more or less. Now this only deals spell field damage. Now what that means is if you land a shot to either side of your opponent, it's going to deal the exact same amount of damage than if you hit a direct target, and it doesn't deal any projectile damage whatsoever. So it means you don't need to be accurate with this character. That's exactly what that means. It deals 30 damage to an opponent, so that is what you're going to be dealing, which is not a lot. Obviously, this is a healer character, and then when you're hitting this on teammates, you're actually giving them health as well, so you don't need to change any buttons or anything like that. You just fire it at teammates and you actually give them 40 health, so you actually heal more than you do damage. And again, you don't need to be accurate with this. You can just basically hit this round about the rough location. Within a 3-meter radius, you will be giving your teammates health. Now, so the next ability that Loki has, which no one really knows about, a bit of a small one, not the best attack, but something you can use, is backstab. Now when you melee someone, 90% of the characters in this game have a 30 damage melee. Now if you go up behind an opponent and you melee them from behind, you actually deal 45 damage with Loki. Now this is good if you're trying to get a finish. Now his next ability is the main one, and that is the Doppelganger. So what you're going to do is press R1 or whatever the mouse buttons are, and then click, and then R1 and then click. You get 2 of these in total, and they have 250 HP each. But if you're low on HP and you decide to switch to one of these guys, which you can do by the way, then you're going to keep the HP that your main character has, so you don't get the 250 HP if you switch to one of these characters, which would be pretty cool to be fair, but you don't get that, unfortunately. So what you can do, like I said, you can switch. So if you press triangle or whatever button you have, you could then switch to one of them, which means if you locate them somewhere else on the map, let's say I put one up there somewhere. So what I've done now is I've actually put a doppelganger up there so that I can switch to, and as you can see, you can switch to a completely different location. So it's almost like a teleport in a way. You can only summon them up to 30 meters, so you can't go too far with this. So even if you're trying to put them down at a far location, that's about as far as you're going to go. So you can do that and then switch to that one if you had it active, so then you can switch and now you're at a completely different location, which is pretty cool to be fair, the way it actually works. I think it kind of is quite intuitive. Now another thing as well, these drones copy exactly what you do. So let's say one of them's actually behind an enemy and you're trying to do the black stab, you can actually do that as well, by the way, which is pretty funny. But also they are going to mimic firing shots as well, and then they start dealing the same amount of damage as you. So that is going to be a total of 30 damage plus 30 plus 30, which is 90 damage per shot now, whilst you've got these guys out. And as you can see, you're dealing super amounts of damage when it comes to Loki, and for a healer that is a ton of damage, man. Now Loki's next ability is the Regeneration domain, which basically if you press L1 or whatever your button is, all the Loki drones plus yourself is going to get a 5-second duration of healing for 100 HP a second, and it's a 5-meter radius, so you get that around each one of your drones, which is pretty cool as well. And that will only be destroyed by the runestones or the timer itself. So Loki's abilities are pretty solid, but what we've done is left the 2 most broken ones till the very end. So first of all, you've got the deception ability, which is the L2 button. So what this does, it makes you invisible, right? So you're basically invisible, and in this state, you're healing at 20 HP per second. And what's crazy about this ability, right, is that you can literally stay in this ability forever. You can just stay like this. That will stop you as if you start doing any action. So if you start shooting, healing, or anything of that nature, is going to basically show you up again. Now you can reload whilst you're in this state, what I mean, but you've got your 2 doppelgangers here. You'll get in this state, you can then swap and you're still in this state. So it's really strange that it allows you to do that. I feel like that's such a weird concept, but you can stay in this state forever. Now the other thing that will show you visible as well is if you just interact with an enemy. So even if they just walk into you, you're going to get back visible again. So Loki's final ability is his ultimate ability, and that is to steal another player's ultimate essentially. So you can steal enemies and you can steal teammates. So if there's a mixture of players, you could choose for whoever you want. As long as you're aiming in that general direction, you can steal anyone's ultimate. So that's the good thing about it. So first of all, when you steal it, what I wanted to test actually was if you got any kills, does it reset the timer? You've got 15 seconds on your timer. So if you get a kill, that does not reset your timer with the character, so it's not like you can stay as Iron Man forever. So that's something I did want to test. And also, once you're on the time down to 1 second, you reset it, and you can kind of go back up depending on whose ultimate you're using. So Iron Man resets you back up to 7 seconds because he's only got 1 blast anyway. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean right now. So we're going to change it to the Hulk. Obviously, we've got 15 seconds on our timer here. We're just going to wait until it gets down to 1 second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn into the Hulk, obviously. So hopefully we have another couple of seconds to run around as the Hulk and not just Bruce Banner. But as you can see, gave you 1 second extra. Now we're back as Loki again. So it's not worth it to use on certain characters. So make sure you pick the ultimate wisely. Getting into the gameplay now, and I'm by no means a pro Loki player, but I do have some good tips for you here. First of all, you want to make sure you use the doppelgangers as often as possible, and when you do use them, spread them out to a relative distance. You don't want to put them maybe like too far away unless you're trying to like get a good flank, which should actually work extremely well. But for the most part, you want them kind of spread out, and the reason I say this is because you can switch with them as well. When you are basically getting attacked by, let's say, a Spider-Man or something, you can easily switch out, and I've done that so many times. Basically switching out of a fight once you start getting into melee range, because you don't want to get into melee range with any player whatsoever with this character and his health. That's the first thing. Also, when you're dealing damage, you want to be dealing damage from different angles as well. So even though you might be missing certain shots, all your drones or doppelgangers will be firing at the same enemy at the same time. And also, if you're trying to heal as well, it's better that you're at different angles so that your teammates at least get some health if you're not hitting your shot. So again, it just works hand in hand. All round, you need to have them relatively spread out. Now also, when it comes to the regeneration part of it as well, when you get the health and the healing, then your healing pads are spread out a bit more also, and that way teammates from all different areas of the gunfight can get healed up as well. Now the ability that I don't see people talking about too much is the ghost ability. Now there's a good time to use it, and then there's kind of like a wrong time to use it. Now don't use it and just sit in it indefinitely and just float around the match and your team is now a player down. That is not fun for anyone. As much as a troll mechanic, I think there is a good way to use it. Now the way you should be using this mechanic is that if you're in a fight, you know you're going to lose, then 100% use this to get out. And instead of switching to one of your drones, or maybe if they're not available, they're on cooldown, then this will get you out of that. Now obviously you want to stay in it as long as possible to get your max health back. You can also spawn the doppelgangers as well. So after you've got your 250 HP back, and if your doppelgangers have replenished, then do spawn them down before you then enter the standard state. Plus you can put them in any location you want, so you can kind of float around, place them down, and then get back into the game. So that is how you want to use this. When it comes to the ultimate ability, because Loki can choose anyone that's on the map, I think it's actually important that you pick the correct one. Now I don't recommend picking someone like the Hulk. As I've shown you, you're not going to really gain too much benefit from it in 15 seconds anyway, so having 2 Hulks run around is not really going to change the game. Now what will change the game is if you probably pick a DPS ultimate, and the reason for that is because most of them are already on a cooldown timer anyway, or a lot of them do a lot of damage in the first place in a very short, quick amount of time. So I would recommend Moon Knight, Iron Man, Star-Lord, Hela, any of these ones. So that's my guide on Loki. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.